CEO Quan was seen limping there. Even Joo-Hee there looked scared of her own father while trying to get out of the coffin. Sung-woo told his subordinates to call the medical team and treat her father, but it seemed that thanks to his anger with Seo Joo-Heon, CEO Quan was able to stand up from the coffin and intended to go to Seo Joo-Heon. CEO Quan did not want to rest now, he just wanted to bring Seo Joo-Heon, then kill him with his own hands. CEO Quan still insisted that Sung-woo bring Seo Joo-Heon, and he asked to bring all the relics and his team to kill Seo Joo-Heon. CEO Quan was confused because Sung-woo seemed to be silent there. CEO Quan saw strange expressions on the faces of the three people there who did not know how they should tell the truth to CEO Quan. CEO Quan became impatient, but Yang Chen was seen trying to delay everything by asking CEO Quan to go to the hospital. But CEO Quan did not want that and asked them to tell the truth. Sung-woo was seen trying to say something. Sung-woo, with an unkind voice, said that all the relics belonging to CEO Quan that were in the safe had been robbed. Not only that, Sung-woo also said that all the buildings and assets had also been sold. When CEO Quan also heard about his staff resigning, he shouted angrily, not wanting to believe what his son said. CEO Quan thought that his son was lying to get him to go to the hospital, but it seemed like Sung-woo was telling the truth. Sung-woo asked CEO Quan to read the article on the internet. CEO Quan began to read the article there, and he was surprised not to believe what happened, and it seemed to make CEO Quan faint. Meanwhile, at the place where the perpetrator who made TBM chaotic, the sound of the relic who was talking about how delicious coffee and scenery on this cruise ship. The worm relic there was enjoying a meal on the cruise ship before his calm was disturbed when he saw the rope relic who broke in surprised him. The worm relic asked what the rope relic wanted that he disturbed his quiet time. The rope relic then discussed about himself who had collected money according to his agreement with the worm relic earlier to turn him into a human. The worm relic did not expect that the rope relic would try so hard like this. Relic worm agreed and was about to take the relic. He kept making relic rope very happy to see him. Relic worm then gave a letter to relic rope. Relic rope then opened the paper and read the contents in it, which said that fellow relics could not sell each other because they would be sentenced if caught doing so. The worm relic felt sorry when he saw the rope relic reading the contents of the paper, and he said that the money that had been given could not be given back to the rope relic. The rope relic looked trembling when he finished reading what was written there and heard the words of the worm relic, who was sorry for not being able to help him. The rope relic certainly did not accept, and he began to wrap around the worm relic very strongly, but the worm relic still held fast to the rules he had given earlier to the rope relic, and asked the rope relic to stop dreaming of changing his form into a human. The rope relic looked sad there because all the efforts he had made were in vain so far. But a voice from another relic came and said that the worm relic was very good at deceiving. It seemed that Set who came there made the rope relic and the worm surprised by his arrival. The rope relic also wanted to make sure if what was written there was a lie by the worm relic, and after finding out if the worm relic was lying, the rope relic then wrapped around the worm relic very hard, and that made the worm relic inevitably give a relic that could help the rope relic. After hearing that from the worm relic, he hurriedly untied it and waited with a happy feeling. The worm relic then gave a relic in the form of onions and vegetables. The worm relic explained a little about the relic called Hwanwung mugwort and garlic, and said that the rope relic would turn into a human if it ate the relic. Although in the story it takes 100 days to change its form into a human, but this relic will immediately change the user when eating it. The rope relic had dreamed and hoped very much to live happily together with Seo Joo-Heon. The worm relic then told the rope relic to eat the relic he gave, and there the rope relic was seen trying to eat the relic given by the worm relic before. But it seemed that all the relics there realized something. If the rope relic did not have a mouth to be able to eat the relic. Upon realizing that the rope relic returned sad and did not accept the fact, even Set who saw him there asked the worm relic to give a relic that had the same function as the relic, but it seemed that the worm relic did not have something like that. The rope relic returned sad because all his efforts were now in vain, and left feeling sad and crying. After a long time on the journey, finally the ship they were traveling on had landed on the mainland precisely to the north of Canada. Some passengers there looked very happy when they managed to return to the mainland after what they all went through on the plane. Seo Joo-Heon was seen there remembering the passengers who got off not to forget their belongings. Seo there was seen coming to Seo Joo-Heon and wanted to report something to him. Seo only reported to Seo Joo-Heon after a long time if among the passengers there was their old friend Khloe. Seo Joo-Heon seemed to know a woman named Khloe Laurent who had been part of his team in the past. Seo confirmed Seo Joo-Heon's assumption and reported that she saw Khloe before their plane crashed, but it seemed that Khloe was not involved with the terrorists. Seo did not know who Khloe was working for now, but all this time she was watching Khloe and waiting for the right time to say this to Seo Joo-Heon. Seo Joo-Heon praised Seo but she was not sure if Khloe was part of an organization because it was unlikely to be done by Khloe. Seo Joo-Heon then asked Khloe whereabouts now to Seo and made sure if they did not lose Khloe now. Seo Joo-Heon prevented Seo who wanted to use Gildal because Seo Joo-Heon knew how sharp instincts Khloe had. Khloe there silently smiled while glancing at Seo and when Seo was caught off guard, Khloe had disappeared from her sight and could not be found. Seo looked surprised because she did not see Khloe anywhere. It seems that Seo has given important information to Seo Joo-Heon, where previously she had told the existence of Khloe among the passengers who were there. Khloe used to be a doctor from the Seo Joo-Heon team in the past who used the relic Nightingale, because at that time the situation in the world was so bad that people even struggled to take care of their own bodies, but thanks to Khloe they were all still able to survive. But Seo assumed that Khloe was working with the terrorists and Seo Joo-Heon wanted to confirm it himself, but it seems that a new problem has arisen. Seo had lost Khloe the moment she turned her attention. Seo admitted that this was the first time that someone could very easily escape her sight, but Seo Joo-Heon realized that Khloe had realized everything from the beginning, because Khloe was a very smart woman and she had strong instincts that made her realize that she was being watched by Seo and that's why Seo can follow her in small spaces like trains and planes but not in large spaces. Seo felt sorry that she had lost Khloe in her surveillance. But it seemed that Seo Joo-Heon was happy when she knew that Khloe managed to escape from Seo's sight, which meant that Khloe's strength was the same as before. Right after the ship pulled into the harbor, Khloe had disappeared since then, and Seo Joo-Heon assumed that Khloe had used her relic to get out of Seo's sight. And with this, Seo Joo-Heon could confirm that the relic used by Khloe was very good and fine. Because they ran for too long, it was seen that Yoo Ji-ha was not strong enough to keep up with Seo Joo-Heon and Seo in front of him. Seeing that, Seo Joo-Heon asked Seo to find a resting place and he would call Julian to come here. A cell phone was seen ringing there, and the owner of the cell phone, which turned out to be Julian, picked up his call from Seo Joo-Heon. Seo Joo-Heon then explained that he met Khloe, but he had lost her. Seo Joo-Heon also explained the part where Seo assumed that Khloe had become part of a terrorist group. Seo Joo-Heon asked Julian for help because they had to leave for the tomb, which was in France at that time. Julian agreed, but they had to carry out their plans quickly because of the possibility that Khloe would meet with CEO Quan. Seo Joo-Heon was surprised, then Julian explained that it might happen because TBM was looking for a healing relic user. Even the news was broadcast on several media channels, because CEO Quan was in a critical condition where finally Seo Joo-Heon was blamed by the media. Seo Joo-Heon still silently listened to every word issued by Julian through the call. After hearing everything, Seo Joo-Heon then explained to his teammates if there was a possibility that Khloe would work for TBM. Because according to the facts that initially TBM and terrorists were working together, and that might be used as a basis for assuming why Khloe wanted to help CEO Quan. But Seo Joo-Heon would not allow that woman to fall into the hands of CEO Quan. And with that, Seo Joo-Heon made a sudden plan where they had to secure Khloe first. And with that, Seo Joo-Heon decided to postpone his trip to France just to find someone named Khloe. Meanwhile, elsewhere, precisely in a large enough room, the worm relic was seen being visited by Set. The worm relic was initially angry because Set came to him while he was still relaxing. Set came to him to discuss the mood of the rope relic and asked for a new relic from the worm relic. The worm relic was surprised that Set had gone to all this trouble just for the rope relic, but it seems that the reason Set was helping the rope relic was because he could no longer hear the cries of the rope relic. Set then pointed out how the rope relic continued to be sad wherever he went while looking at the relic that the worm relic had given him. Set then asked for a replacement relic for the rope relic so that he could change his form, but it seemed that the worm relic did not have it. But Set still wanted to try it because he remembered that there were several relics that could change the form of the user, and relics of that type got pleasure when they could kill humans. That's why the worm relic asked the rope relic to give up. But Set did not seem to give up, and he forced the worm relic to give a replacement relic that could be used. Seeing Set's scary face, the worm relic tried to escape from Set, and the commotion reached the ears of Seo Joo-Heon and told them both to be quiet. But Set did not care about Seo Joo-Heon's words, and he bit the worm relic to make him give up. After that, the worm relic took out a shell relic. Set did not listen to the explanation from the worm relic and walked with his eyes straight ahead. The worm relic asked Set to return the relic he had previously given to the rope relic, but Set ignored him and told the worm relic to take it himself. Meanwhile, the rope relic was still sad in front of a door. Relic Tailai turned to the source of the sound, and he saw Set who brought him a new relic that could be used to change his form, and Relic Tailai was very happy to see that. Relic Tailai seemed very grateful to Set for helping him, and he immediately went to try his new relic, but Set became doubtful if he had done the right thing. Meanwhile, in the office of CEO Quan, several people were seen looking for someone who could work as a healer using relics. Yang Chen was seen, who was upset because Khloe had stolen almost all of his team's medical supplies on the plane. Shortly after that, one of his subordinates there got information about Khloe, and Yang Chen immediately moved closer to his subordinate who called it. On the computer screen appeared personal data belonging to Khloe along with her current location. And not only that, because the data mentioned if Khloe was tied to a certain organization. Yang Chen couldn't figure it out because usually mercenaries are not tied to any organization. But it seems that Khloe is tied to an anti-materialist organization called Noah. Her subordinates explain that it is an organization that opposes all relic use. Yang Chen is upset after hearing the explanation from her subordinates if the organization wants to make this world return to normal without relics. There was even mention that this organization did not hesitate to commit terrorism just because of the different opinions they had with others, and Yang Chen was silent there when he heard that the organization considered TBM as its enemy. Yang Chen then asked his subordinates to connect him with Khloe, and later he would take care of it, and if this method did not work, then Yang Chen intended to force Khloe at all costs. There was a sound of a happy rope relic. It seemed that now the rope relic could change into a human form using the relic given by the worm relic. The pleasure made by the rope relic woke up the relic in front of him and made him surprised. The rope relic asked the relic to turn him into a human, but the clam relic did not understand why a relic wanted to change his form into a human. The clam relic suddenly became silent, and a few moments later the clam relic ran away. The rope relic was initially surprised to see the clam relic running away, and he followed it from behind quickly. But because he did not pay attention to his surroundings, the clam relic crashed into someone's leg. The person who was hit by it took the relic shell. The person who caught the relic shell turned out to be Khloe, and was seen there where the relic shell tried to rebel. The rope relic also asked Khloe to return her relic shell. Khloe was very happy to see the rope relic who was friendly to her, and with that Khloe gave the relic shell to the rope relic and got a thank you from the rope relic. Suddenly, someone caught the rope relic very strongly. It seemed that the man who caught the rope relic was someone known to Khloe. Khloe did not like to see the man who suddenly took someone's relic. Khloe could not understand why a man who did not like relics wanted to have a relic. The man explained that he needed a relic to perform acts of terrorism. The rope relic tried to attack the man, but because the glove used to hold the rope relic was a relic, the rope relic could not do anything to the man who caught it. But because of the persistence possessed by the rope relic, his body suddenly glowed and shook. Slowly, a dazzling light made Khloe and her acquaintance close their eyes. Slowly, the rope relic began to change its shape into a woman, visible long white hair that replaced the rope's form, and after a few moments, the rope relic had changed completely into a little girl with very long white hair, making everyone there surprised when they saw the change. After her little feet tread on the ground, the rope relic that turned into a little girl ran to escape from the men there. Khloe kicked the legs of the man who wanted to chase the rope relic, and immediately the man fell with his face landing first. Because Khloe did that, the rope relic was able to escape from the man's pursuit and disappeared from his sight. They returned to their original goal, which was to pick up Khloe. Khloe felt tired when she heard that she would be given another mission soon. Meanwhile, on the side of the rope relic, she seemed to look exhausted when she managed to escape from that man. When he approached a mirror there, he saw a beautiful little girl with white hair and wearing ancient Korean-style clothes. Relic Talai was surprised at himself who had turned into a human. He felt very happy and almost couldn't believe what happened to him. A very happy rope relic is seen running by spinning around there. But while running there is the sound of another relic scolding him. When the rope relic turns his head in the direction of the sound, it is seen that the clam relic has used all his energy to turn the rope relic into a human. The angry clam relic pinched the cheek of the rope relic until it made him hurt. Relic Shellfish was angry because thanks to him using his power to Relic Talai made all his pearls disappear. Relic Talai was sorry to know that, while still feeling pain from Relic Shellfish's pinch on his cheek earlier, Relic Shellfish said that Relic Talai was in danger, because if within 10 days no one recognized Relic Talai's original form, then his body would turn into a bubble. Relic Talai was surprised to hear that and asked for more explanation from Relic Shellfish, but it seemed that Relic Shellfish could not explain it in detail because it was a side effect when someone used it to change form. The rope relic innocently said that he would be safe because the clam relic knew him, but it seemed that the clam relic was annoyed because that was not what he meant. The clam relic also said that the rope relic could not use human language to speak, but the rope relic did not care about that because he had to meet with Seo Joo-Heon. But the clam relic did not protest further and hoped that someone would recognize him as the rope relic. Meanwhile, in the place where Seo Joo-Heon was, heard him discussing something with his team. Yoo-Ji-ha asked about the data and information provided by Julian to Seo Joo-Heon, and they got information that Khloe had joined an anti-materialist group called Noah. Seo Joo-Heon explained that the group was against the existence of relics, tombs, and even users. And this information explains why Khloe was able to escape from the supervision of Seo, because all members of this group must be very good at hiding. Seo Joo-Heon tried to relate about Khloe, who didn't seem to be the same as before because in the end Khloe worked under CEO Quan instead of a group that disliked the existence of relics. Yoo-Ji-ha still didn't understand why Seo Joo-Heon wanted to find Khloe so much. Seo Joo-Heon explained that he didn't want Khloe to fall into the hands of CEO Quan, and according to Seo Joo-Heon, it would be very good later if he had a member who could use the healing relic in his team. Yoo Ji-ha protested a little because he always disliked the part where he could get hurt later. When Seo Joo-Heon intended to look for Khloe, suddenly a little girl who was a rope relic crashed into him. Seo Joo-Heon, who was not prepared, had to sit on the ground. Seo Ah and Yoo Ji-ha approached Seo Joo-Heon and the little girl. Seo Joo-Heon did not understand what exactly happened, and when he opened his eyes, he saw a little girl who smiled happily at him. Will Seo Joo-Heon be able to recognize the rope relic in its human form?